Hello, this is Connor Nielsen
And this is Spencer Nielsen.
with CS Reviews. You know what I really love? A good movie. And this is our seventh episode of our podcast where we are finally out of January, moving into February. And yeah, we got three movies to talk about. February, I know for you and me, I always look forward to that first week in February because there always seems to be at least one really good movie that comes out, and I really like it all throughout the year. I remember a couple years back, last year we got the Lego movie in 2014. In 2013, we got Warm Bodies, which I really like. And then in 2012, we got both Chronicle and the first Woman in Black movie. So I was really anxious. And we got three movies. I hope one of them was really good. And we got Seventh Son, we got Jupiter Ascending, and we got SpongeBob, Sponge Out of Water. Now, what's interesting about both, like all three of these movies, is you have Jupiter Ascending, which was delayed. It was supposed to come out last year in summertime, and then we got Jupiter Ascending, which was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, but it's been constantly getting delayed. And then we got SpongeBob, which is like a second movie 10 years in the making. So a long time coming for all these movies. How you doing today, Spence?
Hello, I'm doing very good. It's a good week. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's kind of like the theme for this week. But yeah, I was looking forward because we're finally out of January. Goodness sakes. But yeah, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing very, very well. I have my Who Reviews the Reviewers review for round one all written. I'm going to be filming it hopefully a little bit later tonight, maybe tomorrow. So yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you very much. Yeah, so putting together a lot of the last things for our 5K. If you remember, I'm doing a 5K for Autism Research and Resources of Oregon. 5K for Autism is the name of the thing, and it's going to be at the Clackamas Community College campus on March 7th at 10 o'clock p.m. Again, Clackamas Community College, Oregon City campus. So please come. It's $30 if you're in the Portland area. We'd really appreciate it. It is for my small group communications class. So that's what I'm going to be up to. All right, let's move us into some movies. First off, we're going to be doing Jupiter Ascending, and then we're going to move into Seventh Son and then SpongeBob. That's the order we saw these movies in. So, Spence.
It's also sort of like the pecking order for like the anticipation of the movies. Is like Jupiter Ascending. It was a lot of people were looking forward to it. Wachowski's anything they make now is sort of, well, we have to go see it just to see how it is. And then Seventh Son, and then SpongeBob was sort of after that, just by virtue of it being an animated movie that hasn't exactly been getting a whole lot of marketing. I've noticed. But
Yeah, and Seventh Son has both Julianne Moore, who is one of the frontrunners for Best Actress this year, and it has Jeff Bridges, who is an Academy Award-winning actor.
yeah. All right, so let's start this bad boy off with Jupiter Ascending, the latest movie written and directed by the Wachowskis. Okay, so Jupiter Ascending is about Jupiter Jones, a Russian, the daughter of in a Russian family, and she's like a Cinderella. She scrubs the toilets, and she doesn't like her life, and she wants to do something better. And then, just in the nick of time, Channing Tatum has to save her from these aliens who are trying to kill her because she's somehow the queen of Earth. What? And science fiction hijinks ensue. And that's Jupiter Ascending. Connor, what do you think about Jupiter Ascending?
I did not like this movie at all, really. It's not been doing very well. I know a lot of people aren't liking it, but people seem to be very sympathetic towards this movie and kind of like, it wasn't good, but you know, at least it tried. And look, I understand like why people would try to give it a pat on the back for trying, but when what you're trying just isn't working at every turn, then it kind of starts making me angry. And more than anything, this movie really frustrated me and kind of got me mad. Um, because what happens is like this is Jupiter Jones, which is a very ridiculous name. I get what they were going for, like a Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and like if there's an alien named Jupiter Jones, that's cool. But like an Earth character that we're kind of supposed to get behind, and it's supposed to have this sort of fairy tale element behind it, but the sci-fi fairy tale things don't really mesh well at all. And she's like in the middle of this intergalactic uh, political like sifting around, and she's getting in the way of three figures in the galaxy who are trying to squabble over who owns the Earth. That's really what it is, because she technically owns the Earth because she is a reincarnation of the former queen of the galaxy who owned Earth, and she's a reincarnation because all of her genes are in the exact same order and the same kind of genes as the queen. And that's a good idea, and there's some interesting ideas of how in her previous life she left in her will stuff for her future self. And while that's all cool, that's kind of an interesting idea. The way it comes off is very contrived, and she needs stuff, so she left it to herself. That's the way all this stuff really comes off. All the ideas that are in this movie don't come off as genuine imagination. Just comes out as screenplay shortcuts and contrivances. And that's a lot of what bugged me. What did you think of Jupiter Ascending?
Well, first things first. Mia Kunis, Jupiter Jones, Russian.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's because her family is so stereotypical Russian, and like the person who's supposed to play her cousin, who's almost like her brother, is like the most un-Russian person ever. But he does all these like Russian family cliches, and they all talk in their accents, and you need to work for your money and stuff like that. And
they wear sweatpants and sweatshirts.
yeah, they do that too. And they all sit around, they all clutter around their small dinner table. It's very weird. And then Mia Kunis is the most non-Russian looking or acting or sounding girl or woman in the business right now. But they tried to give. She kind of has an exotic look. She's kind of darker skin, but she does nothing to make you believe that she's in this role, which is one of my big problems, that everyone just feels miscast in this movie. One of the biggest gripes against the movie is obviously Eddie Redmayne's character, which we will get into later. But
yes,
first and
we'll save
foremost,
that for later.
yeah, first and foremost, I think the acting in this movie is serviceable at best. The most likable, the most well-casted character in this movie is Channing Tatum's, and he's just supposed to be kind of a brute. And Channing Tatum actually does bring a sense of likability to it, but that's the most I can give to the acting and to the cast of this movie. Everything is just a flat line or down here.
Let's talk about Channing Tatum really fast, because first off, Channing Tatum looks angry to be in this movie. Like he could, like it looks like he doesn't want to be in here, and you can see sort of the frustration in his face, not because he's supposed to play a brute, but the script gives him nothing to do. Tell me something about this character. Do you even remember his name?
I just remember at the end, people said, Mr. Wise, Mr. Wise, Mr. Wise. I'm like, oh, is that Channing? I think his name was Kane Wise.
Okay.
That's only because I have to really think.
Yeah, and so Channing Tatum is He is. You don't know anything about his character. He's very uninteresting, and the way he's acted, I think, was very uninterested in a lot of what's going on. I get he's supposed to not have very many emotions because he's a mercenary and he was a soldier and he does his mission. And like right now, my mind is going to a million different places right now because the movie is a mess. So with Channing Tatum, though, I didn't know anything about him, so therefore I didn't care about him. I mean, he's a splice. He's half wolf, half man. And that whole splice thing is an entirely unexplored idea. Like, what about him being half wolf is important at all? Like,
I,
he
I,
smelled something one time.
yeah, and they mentioned it like once in something about him being a splice is something to do with like sort of his status or his class, and then they just kind of brush it under the carpet, which so which brings me, it feels like this movie was edited, like it was a long movie that was edited down, because about a third of the way through the movie they feel like you're invested in these characters, and then all the stuff starts happening and you're like, okay, like why do you want me to feel such a strong connection already? They feel like, I don't know, by the time we uh, Jupiter gets into space and starts interacting with all these people, it feels like she understands it a lot more than she should, as if we just missed a lot of scenes of her sort of being immersed into it, which was probably just a bunch of exposition scenes. So it was probably poorly written, then cut out, and so the editing is, as you said, results it into a mess.
And also, it feels like a condensed version of a bad movie. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
exactly.
see the and when you say like a mess, like people thought Interstellar was a mess. If you thought that movie was a mess, this thing is scat.
Yeah, amen to that.
It's chunks. It's in chunks of who knows what scattered across the road.
Yeah, and
Um,
just while we're on the topic of acting, uh, I like Channing Tatum. Like he's good enough in the role, but what really brings him down is that him and Mia Kunis have absolutely no chemistry, and the dialogue that they have to regurgitate to one another is embarrassing.
it's a very shallow love story. They have no time to get to know one another. The only reason their love is, oh, well, you look like Channing Tatum. Well, you look like Mila Kunis. I guess this is love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then yeah, and the way, oh gosh, it feels, it's extremely contrived, and it's, the movie wants to say so much. Like it wants to be this love story, then it wants to be this space operatic, all these space politics, and then it also wants to be an allegory on like land owning and whatnot. And it just jumps from piece to piece to piece before anything's developed, and the result is nothing gets developed enough to care about.
One thing you were saying though about how the movie it's it's more interested in exploring the world than anything else. But this world isn't interesting. I don't want to explore this world. I don't want this world. The world building isn't interesting because the characters who inhabit this world aren't interesting. None of them are. And this all these world building things are just presented to us through special effects that don't wow Mila Kunis or anyone else in this thing, and or they're through exposition dumps. Like there is this one part where Mila Kunis visits one of like the only one of the three children, the daughter of her former self, and she is like old, and then she like goes into this bath and like de-ages herself, and then what follows is she just explains every thing about, she explains all the rules, everything, just dumps every sort of exposition you could possibly get. And then right afterwards, there is no movement from this because everyone is in the exact same position, just like running in place. Mila Kunis is just wide-eyed, going, "Oh man, I know this world, but I'm supposed to be acting surprised, but my actions don't result in any sort of surprise, so it's not convincing." And then Channing Tatum is, "I gotta go rescue her." And then Eddie Redmayne's doing his thing, and then someone wants land, and then Sean Bean is just looking angry in the background. It's just everyone just sort of runs in place until the end of the movie, and that's like the
That's
last hour or 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. And a lot of what people are saying is, well, at the very least, the movie looks pretty. Not really. The special effects are generic and pretty bad at times. This movie, as we've sort of been calling it with ourselves, it's like the missing chapter of the Star Wars prequels, like something between episodes 1 and 2. It's all this land dispute and space politics that we don't care about because the characters are lost in it, but yet we're expected to figure it out like sooner than the characters, while the characters sort of go, oh, whatever. And so,
Yes.
yeah, and then so it feels on just the basic of it trying to be some space political drama. It's boring in that way because nothing they're saying is interesting. There's something about like an Orwellian harvesting people on Earth for life or something about that, and there's no stakes. We don't know anyone else on Earth besides Jupiter and her family. So
And her
okay,
family's unlikable.
and their family's unlikable. They're just a bunch of greedy jerks. That's it. And so right there, the script feels like a Star Wars prequel, but also the visual effects and everything just looks so soft focus and like squishy.
I want to say this, okay? I thought the special effects in The Phantom Menace were better than the special effects in this movie. Um, this is one of those things where I'm patting on the back a little bit, where I'm going to say, no, stop patting him on the back. The special effects weren't good. The green screen is unbelievably obvious. Half the backgrounds look entirely flat, like matte paintings, like literal matte paintings have more depth.
I get what you're
And
saying.
then, um, like there's like these creatures who are like crocodiles that have these bat wings on them,
Hater
which
bats.
cool character. Yeah, they're good character design, but they don't look good. They look entirely synthetic, and they look like someone cut them out of a magazine and was kind of like putting them on little popsicle sticks and just kind of like moving them around in the background, you know? And it really clashes with the practical stuff. So, no, the special effects aren't good. Stop saying they are. They're not.
The
Um,
the only thing
and
I think
then,
you're saying.
oh no, just say it.
The one thing I feel works about this movie is sort of Channing Tatum's rocket skate boots. I thought those were kind of cool. I thought that was the most entertaining thing about the movie, and they looked the best. But then again, how easy is making kind of laser streaks in the air?
Yeah. Um, one more thing when I'm talking about kind of like the slapping people in the face, stop patting them on the back. And if you like the special effects, that's fine. You know, I don't think they look good. This is all just opinion. But this is one where a lot of people aren't gonna get mad at me for saying this, but the musical score is not good.
Oh yeah, it was so
People,
boring.
people are like, "Oh, the musical score in this movie, at least that was great." What? It's just generic action sci-fi music. Dun 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 pew 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 da 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 da. It's just generic. Thank you. So those are my two big complaints. Let's get back to what you were talking about with like the technology ideas and like the rocket boots.
Yeah, well, I want to say that I liked the rocket boots. I thought those were the most innovative thing about the movie because the other technology, there's like twice at the end where there's a part where this movie gets so repetitive. Channing Tatum saves Mia Kunis from kind of the younger. There's the three children. There's Madam Exposition, as you call her. Then there's
Yes.
the younger brother, and then there's Eddie Redmayne, who's the older brother. And there's a part where he saves her from the younger brother, and then the very next, then like 5 minutes later, he's Sean Bean's giving out of nowhere giving Channing Tatum a pep talk to go save her again from Eddie Redmayne, and he flies this craft that looks identical to those like Nova fighter things from Guardians of the Galaxy. They look just like those, and it's alarming because just that whole sequence where then they shoot the well in the first one where there's the younger brother where the ship shoots this stuff and it makes like this kind of wall like in Guardians of the Galaxy when the Nova people make like that net to stop the what's the name Ronan's ship. It felt a lot like that, but it's kind of like the opposite. But it was very, very kind of boring. It feels like it's borrowing so much from other science fictions that it has, as if you're going to be kind of borrowing storylines, at least offer something new, at least in terms of like the world that they're inhabiting, and that's not new. The only thing that they have to offer are, well, the rocket boots. Good job.
Right. And one thing, stemming off of that, the action scenes in this movie are very dull. They have like no tension because they feel so synthetic, but they also go on forever. And we all know how these are going to end. We know Channing Tatum's going to swoop in at the last possible second, and then they save the day. Like we all know that's going to happen, and that was another big thing, and it ate up a lot of time where it was so interested in like the action as well as the love story as well as the world building, and none of those three things are good, or they're just not up to snuff. They're boring, and you're checking your watch.
Yeah, it's a bore. It's in the tradition of the Star Wars prequels. That's the best way to put it.
Yes. Um,
So,
uh,
do you have any last thoughts on it?
I just want to say the dialogue hilariously bad, especially the love stuff. We don't really need to go into that. We have well, there's just a couple details. When I talk about how like there's like screenwriting shortcuts that are in there, like Sean Bean's also a splice, so he's spliced with bees, which is just so um, convenient because bees just naturally know when like authority is around or some kind of royalty or whatever. So they immediately, go to her every whim because she's a queen. Well, it's a good thing he has a bunch of bees and just it's a good thing he's spliced with a bee, or else who would have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
the thing with the first act is like one of the biggest like they do those shortcuts, but it's also like they say, okay, hi, I'm Channing Tatum, and I'm here to give you this much amount of exposition, but let me take you to my friend, and he'll give you the next amount of exposition, and then we can take you to your incarnated self's daughter, and she'll give you the rest of the exposition, and so on and so forth, and then they do this through, and the only way that these people like give them like the exposition is through stuff like, well, how do I know you're a queen? Shortcut. Oh, that's why you're a queen. Now I can give you all this information.
and that's what I was talking about. Like it's just, hey, let's get you to this next character so that he can get you to the next character. That's the poor world building I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and I think going back to the beginning, a lot of the opening stuff with her and her family is just really awkward and out of place in comparison to everything else. Like where she's like, "Oh, I hate my life," and they're scrubbing toilets. You know, it tonally doesn't mesh with everything else, and it's kind of supposed to be kind of quirky and played for laughs a little bit. So, you know what I mean? We don't really feel a need to go with her. We don't feel like we need to escape with her. Um, to give this movie any sort of like bone, I will say it at least has some kind of themes built into it. Like there is the theme of land and class, and the Orwellian like themes of oppression and things like that.
Yeah, it's almost like the Marxist, the upper class, so the bourgeoisie is going to just feed off of the underclass proletariat. It has a lot. It's very obvious, but at least it's there.
And
And
but it's not sought through them.
yeah, and at least the acting is serviceable for the most part, which brings me to the final point I want to bring up. The elephant in the room, Eddie Redmayne. He's awful.
Yes. Let's wrap up with Eddie Redmayne.
Shall we do this? Shall we wrap up, mother?
Let's all do our Eddie Redmaynes.
All right.
I will harvest tomorrow. If it's the fact my
Mother! It's not just it's not just his voice. It's the way he phrases things that is so bizarre. You made me do what?
I will give this thing this though. It was entertaining in those last 20 minutes because I just couldn't wait for Eddie Redmayne to get back.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to now see Eddie Redmayne win Best Actor, just as like the most anti-winner ever, because I could just see like Eddie Redmayne, like the whole time I was watching it, Eddie Redmayne sitting like this, and then just for your consideration, I could just imagine popping at the bottom, because like he might be really really bad and might be Razzie worthy, but darn it if he's not entertaining.
Oh, I know. I think he's the only thing that's so bad it's good about this movie. He's by far the most entertaining thing about it, but he's also the worst thing about it.
Oh, absolutely. He goes down in flames, though.
Yeah. He's gonna go down. I think he's gonna go down as one of the most infamously bad performances.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, same here. What would you give it?
I am going to give Jupiter Ascending a 3.5 out of 10. I think it's
Yeah.
a very bad movie, if only because the world and the characters aren't interesting at all.
And I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10 because I think the acting is serviceable. It has a narrative, it has a 3-act structure, but other than that, it is a mess. It tries to be ambitious, but in all the wrong ways. And Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis are awful together. The dialogue is terrible. The special effects are boring. The action sequences are thrillless. And Eddie Redmayne does his thing. And that's all I have to say about Jupiter Ascending.
All right, moving on to Seventh Son. We have another voice that we can put on, but this is going to have to be the first thing we talk about because unlike Jupiter Ascending, Jeff Bridges is in here from the clear beginning. Where Eddie Redmayne was like the cherry at the end, Jeff Bridges is like the thing that you constantly have to live with throughout this entire movie. I'm not going to pull any punches on this one. I hate this movie, Seventh Son. Spencer, tell us about Seventh Son.
All right. What if I came to you and I said, hey, let's watch this movie. It's about this poor farm boy who's recruited by a knight of an ancient order that dabbles in mystical sort of mumbo-jumbo that is shunned by the community but is also needed to save the day. No, I'm not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about Seventh Son, one of the most generic movies, screenwriting-wise, you will ever see. Oh my gosh. This movie is an attempt at taking a familiar archetype for a story with familiar archetypes for characters and then doing nothing unique. Are you noticing a theme about this week so far? Yeah. So the main plot, actual details of this is that there's a witch played by Julianne Moore who escapes from her jail in the mountains to take over the world and get revenge for Jeff Bridges for putting her there. But there's probably more to their relationship than meets the eye. As you probably guessed, yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking.
Yes. And continuing the theme of unbelievably uninteresting worlds that they're trying to flesh out and build and explore, that you just don't want to explore this world. It's not interesting. It's boring. It is a castrated Middle Earth. It is just, it's hollow. This world is completely and uninteresting. It is the most generic base fantasy world ever. So right out of there, it's boring, generic. I don't want to explore it. But you know what? We just gotta say it. Jeff Bridges, did no one tell you to spit the chew out of your mouth? Every single line he has sounds like this. I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly how he sounds.
You are the seventh son of the seventh son.
I had a Mordecai moment, except unlike where Mordecai, you hear the first thing you even hear is Johnny Depp's voice, and you're like, no, please, don't let that be the whole thing. His first talk, you go, no, that's not going to be the whole movie, is it? It is. And at first you're laughing, you're just like, really? This is the whole thing? And then it gets annoying. You're like, okay, it's not funny anymore. Stop it. And because those first 15-ish minutes are funny bad, I'm not going to give this movie my complete bottom score because I liked nothing about this movie, but at least for the first 15-ish minutes, it was a chuckle. So, right there. And so Jeff Bridges' voice and acting, he gives a very bad performance, and you can tell he's just trying to be the next Gandalf. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for a franchise. This movie ain't gonna be a franchise. No one spent their money to go see this movie, and on top of that, he's just an extremely unlikable jerk. And he's supposed to be unlikable, but you're just man, I don't like this guy. Can you just get rid of him? It's not like Han Solo, who's rogue and a bit unlikable, but you want to see where he goes. It's not like that. He's just some unlikable dude who kills people, monsters and stuff. So, yeah. You have anything to say about Jeff Bridges?
It's Jeff Bridges in this movie. I mean, he's absolutely ridiculous. I was thinking to myself, his first scene of introduction, where Jeff Bridges is actually the guy. He's in a bar and he's beating up this guy while also drinking his beer. There's a theme throughout this movie that everyone is embarrassing themselves, and first and foremost, it's Jeff Bridges. He's sort of the leader of the pack. Dude, you have won an Academy Award. What are you doing here? That's all there is to say about it, really.
Okay. So blending Jeff Bridges and the world, here's how generic the world is. And it's something that's only a moment, but it really got under my skin, where he's talking where they're walking through the woods, and then the kid goes, "What's that?" "That's such and such. That's a level 6. Are we in World of Warcraft? And then a level 6 or a level 2 or a level 12, no level is ever brought up ever again, except for that one time. What is this? And he's played something called a spook, which hopefully, surprisingly, it's not racist in this context, because this movie is very racist and misogynistic. I'm going to get into that later, but now let's move on to Tom, because his name's Tom, not Thomas. This is elevated and stuff, so Thomas, yeah, it's a little cheesy, but you know what? It kind of comes with the turf. That's fine. But Tom, Why don't you just call him Johnny?
Or Jack.
Well, he'd have to be Tom Cruise if his name's Jack.
Oh, right. Sorry, my bad.
And
Another thing about this movie that, especially with Tom's character and Jeff Bridges, is he just sort of goes up to him and says, "You have seen visions of me. You are here to come with me because you are the seventh son of the seventh son." And then they just kind of goes in the house and says, "Hey, you're the dad, right? This should suffice." And just gives him money, and he's like, "Cool, take him." I mean, whoa, what?
exactly, what kind of world is this?
I mean, his family is so. We only see them in one scene. Well, I guess we see his mom in the second scene, but it is just his family, and we're supposed to believe he has 7 or 6 other brothers. Okay, any sisters or why? What is like?
He
What is
has
his?
one sister.
Oh yeah, we see here he has one sister. So what is his like? What's his connection to his family? Because we just see him out in the woods, then he talks to a younger sister, and then he talks to his mom for a little bit, and that's it. Like I'm left to believe that Jeff Bridges buys himself a little boy slave or man slave, and from his dad who just is okay with this because it's your destiny, I guess. We have
I want to talk about Tom because, like, from that first moment, I was like, "What?" Because he has the most generic introduction ever. He's just hunting. He misses his target. Tom, get back here! Oh, and he's pig farming. He's like, "Oh, I have. I need to go and do things. I'm never gonna belong here. I want to go out, have adventures." It's what? Are you kidding me? This is what we're doing? And then, like, the whole first act where it's like establishing Tom and him starting to go on his mission, it's so rushed. I felt like it was going in fast forward. Like, all the scenes were very short, and the dialogue exchanges were so fast, it felt like they were trying to rush this out as fast as possible. Especially the scene where we meet his love interest, who is I'm going to get into the whole romance thing later, but it's just, hi there. Well, hello there. Aren't you handsome? Oh, yeah? Why do you close your eyes? Okay. Well, gee, I wonder if she's going to go, oh, look at, she's gone. Huh, scene's over. Like, I'm slightly exaggerating, but it feels that fast. Um, and also, like, the scene where Jeff Bridges comes to find him, he's like, I'm looking for a seventh son of the seventh son. Yeah, let me see if I got one of those lying around. It's like, and is everyone trying to see how many times they can say seventh son at the beginning of this movie? Seventh son of the seventh son, seventh son. It's like, shut up! This movie bothered me.
It really bugged me too. Oh gosh, I just lost it. There was something about there's a part where there's like this there's like the training montage. All right, you must become this. All right, yeah. And then it's also supposed to be them bonding, so you kind of them trying to knock 2 birds down with 1 stone.
Oh yeah, the exposition and training montage. This is such and such. This is such and such. Throw the knife this way. Gee, I wonder if they're gonna have to. It's like a video game. Go kill this person, then go kill this person. Go kill this person. Master this trick. I mean, what?
Another thing that kind of bugged me that made it feel like like they were trying to be part video game was there's every time like Tom like finds like the boss, it feels like it's Legend of Zelda because it starts off small and then you can just imagine it's like the Zelda text coming up saying like the bear monster, spiritual bear of the spirit realm. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Let's see. Let's just go into the whole romance thing, all right? No, let's talk about the relationship between Jeff Bridges and Tom, because here's like the thing, like they don't get along. He's a jerk, and he's not a character. And Tom, he's like the most base archetype. And then what happens is like there's some peril that happens, and then Jeff Bridges says, I can't let this I can't let this one go, because apparently like uh, all of his apprentices die, and then he said, well, there's been no development of this relationship. Why do you care if he dies? And he's like, I can't let this one go. And it's like the crux of their like relationships arc. Like this is where it really like climaxes. I there's no character development. No
Yeah,
one
there's no clear definition where he goes from some punk that he kind of pulls out to him being, yes, he's my apprentice. He's like a son to me. There's no, they don't define that, and it just feels, what? Oh, whoa. When was I supposed to care about them like as a partnership?
And remember, like this movie tries to like build its world with, oh, let's have like a quirky supporting character, Tusk,
Tusk.
not Justin Long now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the best way to describe Tusk in this movie is like they found kind of like, Mickey Rourke from Sin City. It's like he was drunk after like a shooting, and they're like, hey dude, come over here. And he's like, then they kind of give him like Tusk, and they kind of gave him like a fur, and they said, great, now just be yourself. So it's almost like, it almost was like a like a drunk Mickey Rourke from Sin City just going grrr, grrr. It's absolutely weird. And Tom and Jeff Bridges, it's like they're just jerks to him. Oh, Tusk, you're so ugly. You're as loyal as you are ugly. Get a load of this guy. It's like, whoa, guys, kind of time out here.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Master your key players before you attempt to like have some sort of quirky supporting player. Moving out of that, let's get into the witches and the action. Dragon. Okay. Now, the special effects in this movie are really bad, and so also very unimaginative in the sense that like they need to like go away, so they just kind of turn into this streamy fog and just kind of like trail off with like like streams, and like the tails are like fluttering about. And it looks all synthetic, and it doesn't even mesh well with the set, and it's just lazy and dull, and it just poof, oh, now there's something else, or bleh, like there's your special effect, and they're just as boring and uninteresting as the world they inhabit. And and also, as boring and generic as the world inhabits is the action. The only thing I'm going to give this movie regarding the action is at least there was no shaky cam.
That's it. And that's hardly a bone to be thrown at a movie. The best way I can use to describe this movie is lame. I know that's a lame sort of adjective, but the special effects, you just look and go, okay, nice February release date. The acting in this movie's lame. Yeah, we're acting. I'm a witch. Yeah,
I got the seventh son of the seventh son.
The story's lame. The characters are lame. It's just a lame movie. And who is this movie for? The people that made it?
Well, there's one set piece where the witches attack a village, and I kid you not, I was reminded of Troll 2. Remember that scene in Troll 2 where for no reason the witch just transforms herself into lingerie so she can seduce that one guy just so that she can be away from the place so the heroes can get to the place that she was at and now she's not?
Yeah.
It felt like that same thing where we need the witches to be evil, so they just say, let's go kill a village, and then they turn into their dragons and just flutter about and then start destroying the village for no reason because they need to show their power and gee, we need an action set piece. Like that's it. Like, and then so the heroes can get to their castle. Like that's what it feels like. It felt like Troll 2. That's how lazy this movie is.
Yeah, this movie it's hard to find anything redeemable about it. It's a steaming pile.
It is. And one last, winding down, let's talk about the romance in this movie.
The the, the you've described
Romance?
this movie as you've described this movie as misogynistic.
No, no.
And
I want to talk about the romance first.
okay, hey
Ha
Connor,
ha 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 ha.
hey Connor, Connor, guess what?
What?
I love you.
And it's
That's it. And then it's like, let's run away together. Oh, we'll be in love. Oh, I want you, but I can't. But we can. Then she disappears.
here, here's the thing. He likes her because she's pretty, and what's funny about her is like you could tell they couldn't get Anna Paquin, so they got a lookalike. And then she's like, I guess he must be pretty too. So they just like make googly eyes and are immediately like, oh, hello there, hey, how's it going? And they try to have like these little like cutesy like recurring things where it's like, close your eyes, turn around, so that they can run off. And it's
It's juvenile.
and this is gonna go feed right into my last point, which is how misogynistic this movie is. Like,
Oh.
um, I can like I understand like male fantasy uh sort of gratification. You know what I mean? Where the man is the strong one, and if only those girls had understood, like some kind of male fantasy escapism, there's a venue for that. But I've never seen it quite as uncomfortable and kind of creepy as this movie. Like it is creepily misogynistic. So every single villain is a woman. Everyone's a woman
Except for one.
except for one who's an African American male. And then all the heroes, the two heroic people, are white males, and they come in and they burn and just kill and like watch them all burst up into flames, and like the black man gets killed, and then they come in and like they're like slaughtering the women left and right, and then like they're just like burning it, and then like there's like the scene where like the hero like you see like the fire rising, he's burning Julianne Moore to death, and you're like, this is this is not right. Like there's a level where like you can have a villainess, I get that. You can have like like there's nothing wrong with a villain who's a woman. There's nothing wrong with that.
Or
But
a hero that's a guy.
well, yeah, it's just there's no problem with having a black villain. That's not racist. There's no problem with having a woman villain who's the antagonist. That's not misogynistic. But the levels they go to show you just how much stronger and how they just like just brutalize them. It was almost offensive.
And
And,
then afterwards they come out all, we saved the day.
and the one woman who walks out of this movie is the woman who throws herself out at Tom.
Yeah, it's the one who's redeemed is the love interest who is just some object for him to swoon at.
And like, you know me, I'm not easily offended. That was like almost offensively, like, oh my gosh, that was hard to stomach for me.
Yeah,
So
it was really bad.
that's all I have to say about this movie.
Yep, same here. What would
So
you give Seventh Son?
I want to give this a 1. I really do. However, it was so bad it's good for 15-ish minutes. And you know what? There was no shaky cam. 1.5. I think Mordecai is only slightly worse than this movie, but this was a loathsome movie. I hated this movie.
Yeah, Seventh Son for me is going to get a 7 out of 10. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, this is the best way to describe this movie is it's bad. It's an absolute stinker. It's a 2 out of 10 for me. It's a number 2 out of 10 for me. It's don't watch it. No one is going to. No one's going to remember it. They're not going to make a sequel, and if they do, then I don't know. Props to them for shaking hands in Hollywood. You got me.
The way they'll get a sequel is they have like another Roger Corman who will make it for as cheap as they possibly can and get money out of it. Roger Corman's The Other Seventh Son.
The Seventh Son's Seventh Son.
This is based off of a book series.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right. It's a young adult fantasy novel. Let's make it into a movie. So yeah, so far February. It's a lot like January.
All right, guys, and this is where it is. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. So I really liked the first SpongeBob movie. It was actually, I think, at the clear end. Like that came out right after season 3, and that was kind of Steven Hillenburg and company's last hurrah. And before they left the show, and then ever since then, it's been run by other people who aren't good because SpongeBob, after that movie came out, wasn't good, and it hasn't been good. But I really like that first one. That's my introduction to the voice of Scarlett Johansson, and I've been in love ever since, and I'm still in love with Scarlett Johansson. And it was just fun and quirky for me. So when I heard they were making another one and it was going to be sort of live action, I was like, huh. But then I saw the trailer and there were some actually really funny parts, and the CGI animation in the live action stuff actually looked pretty cool. What we got is the craziest movie I think I've ever seen.
Oh
David
my God.
Lynch ain't got nothing on this movie. Spencer, tell us about the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water.
The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, is about the people of Bikini Bottom who worship Krabby Patties almost to a savage level. They're eating, and the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krab, is getting rich, and SpongeBob's still making the Krabby Patty. Squidward's still the cashier who don't care about nothing. And Plankton is still trying to steal the formula until one day the Krabby Patty formula just goes missing as Plankton is trying to steal it. But SpongeBob is a stand-up guy, and he knows that Plankton is innocent. So while Bikini Bottom is falling to an apocalyptic cataclysm because of there being no Krabby Patties, God's dead here, I guess. And so SpongeBob and Plankton are going to team up and save the Bikini Bottom by rescuing the Krabby Patty secret formula.
And there is a pirate who is like the framing device of this movie is kind of sort of told through a pirate named Burger Beard, live action, played by Antonio Banderas as he talks to CGI seagulls. Okay, I gotta say it. Like, I think this movie is darn near brilliant. Like, this movie is insane, and I laughed so hard I gave myself a headache. I couldn't stop laughing at this movie. Rather, with this movie, it is so nonstop funny, and I was shocked at how well it went. And it's also like so darn surreal. Like, I didn't realize how weird SpongeBob was until you watch it on screen. And you know what? Some of this stuff is even weird for SpongeBob. And I think that 3D, like we watched this in 3D.
All 3 movies this weekend we saw in 3D.
That's right. And like, I mean, whoa! Like the 3D just added to that bizarre, manic atmosphere. Spencer, what do you think of this one?
Well, this movie is certifiably bonkers, as stated. It is. If this was a person, it would be locked up in an insane asylum. Holy cow! everyone's been saying it, and it needs to be addressed. The marketing for this movie is completely misleading because the live action stuff is only for like 20 minutes of the movie, and that was actually a big reason why I wasn't looking forward to the movie as much. Was because I'm like, oh, a new SpongeBob movie. I loved the first one, and then I saw the trailer and went, there's a lot of CGI. But then I heard there was going to be a lot more like traditional 2D animation than I thought there was, and I got a little hope. But this movie, oh my goodness, it's hard to find words to describe. So I will say this: the animation is beautiful. They really, really, really went above and beyond. They incorporate anyone who have you ever played Paper Mario? That's a
Oh yeah.
It's a 2001 game, I believe, for the Nintendo 64, and it's an entirely 3D world. But you and all the other characters and enemies are like flat. And like you can like slip into cracks and whatnot, but there's like 3D trees and like 3D rocks and whatnot, and it's very interesting. I noticed that was actually being. I'm sorry, I'm replaying that game right now, and I see a lot of that being used here, and that I think it looks really cool because like his house and like the neighborhood of Patrick, Squidward, and SpongeBob, like their houses are made out of 3D images, but they're decorated to look kind of more 2D like. And then the way the characters interact with it, it actually looks really good. So the animation is great. Just great.
And unique, because every animation looks good. This is unique.
Yes. Well, it's kind of funny because last year, this weekend, we got the Lego Movie, which was a uniquely animated film that was also extremely funny. And this year we got a uniquely animated movie that was extremely funny.
And then when they go on land that we all see in the trailers, like the 3D animation, I thought was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was very, very well done.
It's actually ILM did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
And like there's some things in here that I never thought I would see in a million years. There's Antonio Banderas in a pirate costume swinging on a mast while a giant wall of ice cream cones flies behind him in the wind. Like it's insane. Like there's time travel sequences, there's superhero stuff in here. There's the weirdest scene that involves SpongeBob's brain. Oh my lands. There's an Illuminati dolphin who oversees the universe, who has a laser beam in his blowhole.
The movie, I don't want to spoil the ending of the movie, but the ending, it's wrapping up, and then the movie stops, turns into something else for like 2 minutes, and they say, wait a second, this movie's supposed to be over, and then it just ends. Like, what is this movie doing?
Bonkers. Like, this movie's insane, and it's hilarious, but what always makes it good is it refutes any and all cynicism. Like, there's no cynicism to be here. Like, there's no, like, wink, wink, get it, it's sort of druggy. They don't do that. It's completely innocent, and it's jolly, and it, just embraces what it is full-heartedly. And, like, you don't really question, like, well, gee, that's just there to be random. It's like, no, I buy it. Sure, talking dolphin who wears an Illuminati cape that oversees the entire universe in a triangle in space. You know what? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm down with that.
He has a laser blowhole.
Yeah, and, like, you just buy it because it's so innocent and charming and just fun and just any else, like, cynicism that, like, and any and all, like, wink, wink, get it, adults. Those kids don't get it. No, the kids and adults will be laughing at the same things, albeit maybe for some different reasons, but it's just so darn absurd you can't not love it.
Yeah, it's a very entertaining movie. However, I think there are criticisms against the movie. Well, Connor, you just saw SpongeBob sponge out of water. Critique this as a movie.
I can't.
Film. I know.
It is an experience all unto itself. Like, I can't critique this movie like I would any other movie because it's not like any other movie I've ever seen. Like, how often can you say that? This movie is, like, in its own special way, a special movie. It's not as good as the Lego Movie last year. It's not as deep or as intelligent, but it has that same kind of spirit to it. So, yeah.
I feel that definitely with the terms of spirit, especially the almost the brand of humor, minus well, the Lego Movie. It's been out for a year, so we don't have to worry about spoilers. Is how it's from the point of view of a 10-year-old, and all the jokes are like as if they'd be made by a 10-year-old. Kind of that internet era, random, non sequitur. What's the word? Like short-term memory, kind of snap, 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 flash, bang kind of humor. And this one is kind of like that, but in a more like self-awarely stupid kind of way. So I definitely think that. But if I have a criticism against the movie, it's that I think the humor, once they get on land, it starts off funny, and then it gets increasingly lesser so. And I think by the end of the whole superhero bit, I was kind of ready for them just to go back into water. I think Plankton's arc is a little... Plankton's arc? What am I saying? But, Connor, there's this sea plankton, and his character arc. I don't know. I just feel as though his character arc is a little too neat and tidy. There's only one message in this movie, and it's all about teamwork. And even, of course, the movie is realizing that it's not even doesn't even have a real message, but it's the theme of the movie is teamwork. And I think it beats you over the head every chance it gets, and not intentionally or in a self-aware manner.
I think it is, and I understand why you think that, but for me it was like, this is bonkers crazy. Oh yeah, it's all about teamwork, right?
TM work. I thought that would get annoying, but it actually didn't.
I know, and like there's songs, and then there's sing-alongs, and then there's the time travel sequences, which are insane. There's like a Squidosaurus Rex, and oh my gosh.
Well, the thing, I'm glad you mentioned the sing-alongs, because I felt like the couple of songs were kind of weak, and not in like they're so kind of lame that you can't help but laugh. I thought they kind of, I think the sing-alongs fell flat. I just sound like a snob. I'm talking about SpongeBob, Sponge Out of Water.
And like I understand why you have your reservations about certain aspects of it, but like for me, like when they get on land and there's like Antonio Banderas is like amazing in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
But like the sort of like poor like the kid actors and like the extras they have on land, they're all sort of like this weakly delivered lines and just kind of awkward line delivery. It just adds to the overall experience. Like there's a little kid, he's like, "Get out of my sister's sandcastle," and it's so obvious this kid's acting, but it just adds to the what the heck am I watching vibe of this movie.
Yes, the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, is certifiably bonkers and, without a doubt, the best movie of the year.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take quite a bit for me to like find something better than this movie this year.
All right, what would you give the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water?
I'll give it an 8.5. This is probably going to be in my top 10 favorite movies of the year, but it's in no way going to be in the top 10 greatest movies of the year. Like, I sort of love this movie, but I recognize that it's not like as great as I subjectively feel it is. So I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think for what it is, it's almost perfect.
And it is what it is. That's for sure. Yeah. I would give this movie a 7 out of 10, just judging it as a movie. I feel like a party pooper here. But no, I think the humor falls flat in the sing-alongs, And I think the land sequence goes on for a long time. Everyone's saying, "Oh, it's only 5 minutes long." No, it's a good 20 minutes, and it like okay, go back underwater where it was funnier, and the animation. I think that the animation underwater was a lot more unique and entertaining to look at. But that's not to say the animation on land was bad. But yeah, so a 7 out of 10. It's really good. You should check it out. It's funny.
One more thing. One more thing.
What?
Like, I feel like was Grant Morrison a consulting writer on this thing? Antonio Banderas has a book where he's reading a story that's actually happening right now underwater in the same plane of existence, and then he's writing it, controlling the story, but then that story comes up and takes the story and starts writing itself and altering reality. Like, what? Did Grant Morrison write that? Oh well. Stephen Hillenburg is back with SpongeBob again, so I'm really happy. I'm going to start watching the show again. I'm really excited. So yeah, I love this movie. It was just everything I love about SpongeBob. But I understand it's not that great, but I think it's pretty great.
Connor, you know what this means? The first genuinely good movie of 2015.
All right, so that's all the movies we saw this week, and we've been doing this for a while now. So next week, there's 2 movies. It's Valentine's Day weekend, so we have we have Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman: The Secret Service, which I was actually shocked to find out is rated R, starring Colin Firth, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Caine, and what's his name? Strong. What Strong?
Mark Strong?
Mark Strong. I'm thinking Martin. Mark Strong. And some kid I've never heard of who's the main character. I've actually gotten a lot more excited for this movie the more I see of it. I wasn't really into it the first thing.
I saw the trailer and I was like, this movie looks absolutely just absurd, like, not even in a fun kind of way. And our mom was like, she saw the TV spot, said, "Oh, that movie looks so dumb." But I've sort of been like getting a vibe that it's supposed to be kind of off the wall and entertaining and flashy. It has that Matthew Vaughn flair to it.
Yeah, and like when I heard it was rated R, and like some of like in the trailer they hint at a lot of like the over the top language and violence, but it also kind of has like this how Mordecai should have been all out with the language and just all out with the gags.
Yeah.
Instead it felt PG-13 movie that they went, no, let's make it R, I guess.
Throw in a couple F-bombs. There you go.
Yeah. And we're like, this movie, it looks like it's just going all out and having fun. It's based off of a Mark Miller comic book with art by Dave Gibbons. So maybe go check that book out. But yeah, so it's the same author of Kick-Ass. So I'm expecting a similar vibe with this movie. And yeah, I'm kind of excited for it.
Yep. And then we have the movie that is the reason for the season.
The movie event of the year.
The movie event of the year. It's. Are you curious?
50 Shades of Grey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all that we have for next week. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and see you next week. I'm Connor Nielsen.
And I'm Spencer Nielsen, signing off.